For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Lots going on in the entertainment world. Oh my heavens. Britney Spears and the Free Britney campaign. We've heard that, it sounds like she's speaking out, saying that she was held against her will, and everybody's blaming her dad, and her mom wants to get in on the action. And I think the bigger story is legendary actor Tim Conway passing away, and coincidental timing that, last week on the show we had Vicki Lawrence. She was a co-star on the Carol Burnett show, and there's sort of that group of them, right? There was Carol Burnett, Tim Conway, Harvey Korman, Vicki Lawrence. Betty White was in there at some points. And so it's interesting because when we had Vicki on the show, we were talking about how there's not really many of these TV legends left. And really eerie timing because that interview with Vicki was actually taped. Believe it or not, we actually taped it a couple of months ago. I think it was either end of March or beginning of April. So maybe a little over a month ago. And, just as luck would have it, that's when the interview aired, was last week on the podcast and then also on our syndicated radio shows. So, there's some of those people where, I can't go and say like, oh, I was a huge fan, I love him, but what I did watch of his, Tim Conway, I enjoyed. And one of my favorite movies of all time is called The Private Eyes. It was with him and Don Knotts. And so, on a night like that, he had broken in the morning, so we knew about it. And almost immediately I said, tonight I'm watching The Private Eyes at home. And so, you sort of do pay tribute in your own little way, right? I mean, obviously I'm not going to, set up a big memorial and shrine, but we did. We had a bunch of candles. We got some total typical movie theater food. We had popcorn and candy, and it was kind of like, let's just laugh our asses off and watch this movie. So again, I can't be one of those people who's like, oh my God, he was such a great actor. I respected his work. I found him really funny. And it's a sad loss, right? I mean, I didn't realize that he was battling health issues. So there we go. I can't say that I was a huge, huge fan because I didn't know about the health issues, right? So, it's kind of one of those things where it catches you off guard. I mean, obviously you realize these people are getting older and it's bound to happen, right? So, so it's a sad loss. And, of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to his former co-stars and colleagues and friends and family. So, again, just sort of weird timing that we ran Vicki Lawrence on our shows last week and a couple of days ago on the radio. Now, coming up this week on the podcast, Marion Ross, speaking of TV legends, and it sounds like she's in good health. We had a very, very long radio interview also a couple of weeks ago. And, we had scheduled I don't even know. I think it was 7 or 8 minutes. I'm not a producer on our radio shows, but generally that's how long our celebrity interviews are. And there's some people, though, like her, like Vicki Lawrence, that when you have them on the phone, hey, you know what? If they're willing to keep going, you keep talking. And that's something that I started doing at the very, very beginning when I was wanting to just milk every second out of a celebrity interview because there was still something new and exciting to me. And I thought, hey, if these people are wanting to talk to me for longer, I'm just going to keep going. Then I kind of got into the habit of you know what, this is kind of long, and, I don't think they were meant to be on the phone with me for 45 minutes. But certainly you do make those, if you're having a great conversation, we'll just keep rolling. And that's one of the beautiful things about taping our interviews outside of the live element, is that we can keep rolling if we want. You know what? I'm going to have another glass of wine and we'll keep going. And so with Marion, we did. We talked We talked even before we were on, and I'm saying on in quotation marks because, we'll have the chit-chat. We'll have casual conversation as they're checking the sound here and making sure that everything's okay. We're sort of stalling, vamping it's called, and then we'll get into it once we're ready. And so we had this connection because she lived in Minnesota for a long time. She has close connections to Canada. I'm already tripping over my words. And so we talked about like our hometowns. She's lived in Saskatchewan, or her parents were in Saskatchewan. And so we ended up doing that. And then finally somebody out of the corner of my eye was like, are you ready to do this? Like, are we doing an interview? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess, Marion, we should get rolling on this. So again, just one of those people. She's 90 some years old, and you're going to hear that interview in the next few minutes here on the show. And legendary actor from Happy Days, and it was interesting to hear her talk about Henry Winkler and how she's still in touch with the cast. And that's, she's a very, very charming woman. And we got a nice email after, thanking, not from her directly, but, just saying that was so nice and it was a pleasure. She really enjoyed it. So, it's one of those things where I get compliments on my work and my job, on a regular basis, and I sort of downplay them, right? You're kind of like, yeah, I know our show is good. But there's just something like that ends up being really genuinely nice and really makes your day. So thank you, Marion. I had a wonderful time talking with you, and we're going to play that interview actually right after this break here on The Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
She's a legend in entertainment. She's got a great book out, and Marion Ross is joining us on the line to talk about, well, as much as we can. Hi, Marion.
Hi, my darling. And now I'm beginning to hear your Canadian accent. You have very little.
We were just talking before going on the air that Marion has a connection to Canada, and you were born in Minnesota, so not too far from Winnipeg, where I'm from.
But my mother was from Tisdale,
Saskatchewan, right?
So we would go to Winnipeg quite a bit, and all the way we would drive up to Tisdale. So Canada means a lot to me.
Do you have any fond memories of Winnipeg? I'm going to put you on the spot now that we mention it.
What I think I mostly remember is a museum up in the top of the store, the big store.
Oh, of Eaton's or at Sears?
Probably Eaton's.
Yeah.
And it was all kinds of Eskimo artifacts up there.
Right.
Do they still have that?
No. Well, no, it's the Bay now. Things have changed a little bit, but
So it was fascinating
right.
to see those things, those relics. It was quite a collection.
Was that the same store that had all those Christmas storefronts in the winter in December? Do you know?
Oh, yes, Eaton's.
Yeah.
It was such a big thing.
It was.
And we would get the Eaton's catalog.
Yes.
And we pour through that.
Wanting everything on every page.
Right.
Well, I mentioned at the top you've got a book. It's called My Days, Happy and Otherwise, that you put out last year, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I have to know, what keeps you going? You've got the book.
No, I am retired. Do you know that I've been retired for the last 3 years? Because one of the last shows I said to them, what is that line? They said, well, it's very simple. I said, I know, but I forgot it. What is it? What is it? So I said, I think I'm going to have to wrap it up here.
But I mean, you've obviously left your mark in entertainment, and so many legendary roles. Of course, I'm also thinking about Happy Days. And again, that left such a mark on pop culture. Still to this day, right? People are watching the show on streaming services or DVD.
People of a certain generation. There is a younger generation that doesn't know anything about it, but that's okay. Although there are reruns, and the Fonz keeps himself going so great. He's got a new series, Barry. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes. Yeah. Now, with all of these shows that are coming back, Marion, I have to ask you, if they said, you know what, let's bring back Happy Days, what would you say?
Well, I don't think I can remember all this stuff anymore. When you're 90, I'm fortunate to be so healthy and ambulatory, right?
Of course.
But if it would be awful not to be able to remember all the lines,
Oh, but come on, they would help you out. They would.
They hold up a little sign. Can you read that?
Well,
Can you read that? Okay, that's what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, "Oh, Howard," because Howard died. Our director Jerry Paris died. Our creator Gary Marshall died.
Yeah.
I mean, people are, coming and going. But I'm very close to Ron, and I'm very close to Henry Winkler.
And with all due respect to Henry, though, you made the show. It was you. Come on.
Oh, my darling. Are you Irish?
Ukrainian. But, let me ask you about that, because I know that you had a lot of your TV family contributing to the audiobook, right? So you still...
Everybody has written. Even Erin before she died, and Gary before he died. So everybody has contributed. And we were a very fun, close-knit group. And, we had our softball team. We were all very good athletes.
Yeah.
You really couldn't be on Happy Days if you couldn't play softball, So.
Tell me what that bond was like, though, because, again, like you say, you're still a family, really, after all these years.
Yes, and that doesn't happen with every TV show.
Right.
But we were 11 seasons, so that's a long time. And the fact that we... for some reason, we just all bonded very closely, but it does not happen in every series. Really, it doesn't.
What would you think would be what do you credit the success? Is it the writing? Is it the cast? You talk about, the director, the creator. Why? How did it last 11 seasons?
Well, look at you got the Fonz. Once we hit upon the Fonz, he was such a sensation. Absolutely stopped the world. And so that, I want to give him full credit for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, a couple of weeks ago we had Vicki Lawrence on the show, and she talked about how the TV industry, the landscape has changed since, of course, the days of, the Carol Burnett show and Mama's Family. What do you think of the business now?
I want to be able to tune in and get the whole season. You could sit down for a whole weekend and watch, No. We want to wait for Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, so then you could talk about it when you went to school the next morning.
Right.
It isn't not special enough if you can get a whole season and take it home and watch it whenever you want to.
Right. There's no more of that anticipation of, what's going to happen, and we'll talk about it tomorrow at work or at school.
No, and it's only each show is only 20 minutes of filming.
Right.
So that's not very much, and that's got to hold you for another whole week.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, we're so not, I don't want to say ADD, but we just have that immediate need, and then we move on if we don't get it now.
We do, yeah. So it's interesting.
Do you have one favorite memory, though, from the days of working with the cast or being on the show?
Oh, God, it's pretty hard to have one
yeah.
Because we had almost every day was just sensational. One of my favorites was that Marion was in a dance contest, and she got the Fonz to go to dance with her, and it made Howard so mad, and why was I always sneaking off to go to this dance rehearsal? And so the Fonz and I won a dance contest, and we had the studio had to hire a special woman to come and teach us this tango. Well, Henry learned it in 1 minute. You know, it took me several days to do this thing, but that's what really one of my favorites.
Could you remember the dance? If you and Henry got together now, could you do it?
You bet. You betcha, because he would lead. He would do it, you know. He was a very inventive, natural dancer. You know, he would make up dances and things.
You know, Marion, I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to make that happen, okay? Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. And so in our final remaining moments, let's talk about the book. I said it's called My Days Happy and Otherwise. It's your memoir, really.
Yes.
What prompted you to write it?
I'm from Minnesota, and
right.
because of my Canadian mother, I was raised to you can be anything you want. You can do anything. And also I had a crippled brother, younger than me, so that it's sort of, and I was a middle child. It was sort of a lot of motivation. I felt rather that I had to become something pretty special, you know. So, did you feel that way when you were growing up?
I was the youngest, and I was the only one. I was the only one really into the arts. My brothers did the sports and all that kind of stuff, but I was playing piano, I was writing, and then get into broadcasting, and I've been doing that for 13 years. So, but once you
had to be very driven, because this is not easy, and there's a lot of competition.
Oh, for sure.
But by the time I was, my family moved from Minnesota after the Great War, World War II, and we moved to San Diego because my father worked for the Navy, and that was a good thing because we had the Globe Theater there, great theater, and by the time I finished college, a woman ran off and eloped. So a woman at the college had a connection in Hollywood, and she took me on the train, and she took me up to 20th Century Fox because I had run off and gotten married, and I had been in all the plays, so that's how that happened.
Well, I was going to say, the story that starts in Tisdale, Saskatchewan and ends up in Hollywood, I mean, that doesn't happen very often.
No, what are the odds on that? It's very slim. But that never occurred to me that I couldn't do this. No, it's like, right.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful to be at Paramount. This was in 1953, 54. In those days, all the actors were on the lot. C.B. Nimil had his own special table at lunch. All the actors were there in the big dining room. Marlene Dietrich would come sweeping across, and Martin and Lewis were sitting over there having lunch. It was, and you could go on any sound stage, and there's big stars. James Mason, they're all there shooting stuff. Now when you go to the studio, there's nobody there.
Right.
Because mostly they go on location,
Right.
They're out of town somewhere.
For sure. Okay, so I asked you about, one memory of the time on Happy Days, but let me talk about then show business in general. Obviously, you have those memories of your first visits to studios and things. What was sort of maybe one defining moment where you said, wow, life is good?
Oh, mostly I would be saying, life is horrible.
Okay.
This is tough. This is tough. Because what you would feel was this tremendous competition around you, and beautiful people, talented and beautiful people surrounding you everywhere. So one morning, we would go up to makeup just to be fixed up, maybe to have our picture taken or something.
Right.
And there was a girl sitting under the dryer next to me, and she got up and up and up and up, and it was Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, wow.
And she was exactly my age, and I wanted to die right there. So mostly you felt the pain of the competition around you,
Right. Well, I mean, again, like I said, not everybody makes it in the business, and obviously you had something, right?
Well, I did, and when I was about, I'm 22 years old, I'm under contact apparently. By the time I was 25, it occurred to me that this was all about, show business was all about selling. So I hired a press agent.
Okay.
Because I could see when I'm reading the trades every day, this has all been put in here by somebody's press agent. So that made a big difference. And that press agent, Barbara Best, took a great interest in me, and she was always trying to shape my career, make it happen, making these things. It's once it occurred to me that it was a business, not just an art form.
Mm-hmm. And so, well, absolutely. And so the business obviously has changed over the years. So what advice, now that you're in your mid-30s, Marion, tell me, what advice would you give somebody who maybe just happens to show up in Los Angeles and wants to make it big? Like, obviously, recognize the business side of things, I would say.
Because now there are so many, but there are so many outlets. Mm-hmm. In those days, you had like 3 studios. Then you added, a little later, you added Universal. Okay, and then you had 4. Right. Now, it's vast. I think the best thing to do is try to get some important agent, somebody kind of powerful, to get interested in you, and to show you the ropes, show you how you do this, because somebody is doing it all the time.
Right.
Now, how did they do this? And that was what I spent a lot of energy, all those young years, figuring out, I got to make this happen. How can I make this? So I was less interested at that point in the acting itself. I was interested in the selling. So hiring a press agent, she's guiding me now,
Right.
I need to shape it and guide it. So I would think, now we assume you're talented, right? We assume you're good looking. We assume we got all those. You got all those things.
Yeah.
Now, how are you going to make this work? That's where I hired the press agent.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's the business side of things.
Business.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, girls are, first of all, marrying the wrong guy. You're going on, just getting the wrong advice at every turn. You look at a career like Marilyn Monroe's, what a tough, hard road that was, Mm-hmm. But by God, and she was gone by the time she was, 35, something?
About that. Yeah.
For me to now end up at 90, here I am at 90, and I'm enjoying where I am. I'm enjoying what I had. I don't have to do any more of it. No, it's just fun.
Yeah, you still kind of want to, though, right? You still want to, but...
I don't at all. I can watch anybody else doing and then say, you do that, darling. Well, you go and do that. My son is a very good actor and is working all the time and does commercials, and his name is Jim Meskimen. Mm-hmm. Know that last name?
Yeah.
I'll spell it for you. Meskimen. And my daughter has a contract with, what has Ellen's got a contract with? Anyway, she it was a writer-producer on Friends, of all things. Friends! My daughter, Ellen. So she's she has a job creating a new television series.
That's incredible. So let me ask you then, when it comes to passing down your love of entertainment, was that something that you hoped your kids would get involved in?
No, I didn't particularly want them to have to go through this, But the next thing you know, that's what they are knowing and learning just from by watching your life,
And that has to be a good feeling, knowing that you can relate to what they're going through and they to you.
Oh, absolutely. What's wonderful, because I don't pick up on the angst of any of this. I'm not they're just fine. They've already done so well to get this far. My son came over early this morning to bring me a green drink made of all kinds of herbs and parsleys and some kind of thing for me to drink this morning. And he's very creative. He is always making it happen, because that's the one thing that they saw me, that they learned from me. I didn't sit around here waiting for the brownies and the fairies to come and find me. No, I realized that somehow you have to make this happen. You got to make this happen. So, and there's 100 ways to do it. No specific. In fact, one time I played in the movie Lust for Life with Kirk Douglas, and I played a nun at the end of the movie. It was a very nice part. And so after it was all over, I'm reading the trades, and I see he's going to make another movie. So I write him a letter, and I say, I would love to meet you out of my habit. Out of my habit. Well, I got a phone call right away. You know? So he put me. Then when he finally met me, I was so shy, and I was not aggressive at all. Anyway, he put me in the movie right away. But so I worked hard to make this all happen.
Absolutely. And so I know that everybody can, again, read about that in the book and listen to the audiobook as well. It's called My Days, Happy and Otherwise, right?
And all of the cast, they all wrote a little chapter at the end of the book. Every one of them.
Right.
Even Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely it's worth checking out. And so, Marion, I say that next winter we go tobogganing somewhere in Saskatchewan.
Oh, all right. I think that's a good idea. At least a hayride or something like that over the meadows, through the wheat fields, all the stubble. Yeah.
There we go. We'll have some hot chocolate, and there we go. It's a date. Okay.
All right. I enjoyed talking to you, darling.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Marion. All the best to you.
Bye.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. SpeakFreeWithJB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. SpeakFreeWithJB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. My email address is live@jbonair.com. That's live@jbonair.com. My thanks to Marion Ross. You know, if you ever wanted to check out all of the other celebrity guests that we've had on the radio show or the podcast, you can go to speakfreecelebwatch.com. That's speakfreecelebwatch.com. Kind of a long name, but we kind of kept the branding in there. Speak Free Media, which is the name of the company. speakfreecelebwatch.com. And every day, Monday to Friday and on weekends, we check in with the latest celebrity news and gossip at entertainmentwrapup.com. So have a listen to that. entertainmentwrapup.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a Speak Free Media presentation.
If you want some real heat